Hello, welcome to my Thursday afternoon Facebook Live. I'm Handmade by Julia Quinn, and this is my card for today. I'm trying to see whether, for some reason, my camera seems to be a lot closer than normal and it's confusing me. Mind you, it's pretty easy to confuse me. Doesn't take much. But anyway, today I'm focusing on watercolor techniques using watercolor pencils and blender pens and watercolor paper, fluid 100 watercolor paper to create this fun card. You may, if you do follow me, you would have seen this fun card before. I do love this fold. I've really enjoyed it. I've used it a lot and I created it, and it's pretty easy to do. But what I love about it is the pop of surprise inside. So let's do the easy bits, and then while everyone's still coming, thank you everyone who's coming today, but while everyone's still coming, I'll do the watercolouring bit later. So I'll just pop that aside and that aside. Okay, so here's our card base. Whatever your standard card base is, it needs to be divisible by 4 so that you can fold it into a concertina of 4 equal parts. I'll just give that a bit of a what's the word? Burnish on all of those folds. Okay, so then that creates the fun card that stands up. All right, and then no matter what card you're creating with this, whatever size it is, you just need these are just little scraps, they're nothing too important. And they both have a fold in them. It doesn't actually have to be in half, but that's the first thing you put in the card is 2 little elbows or hinges, each of them with a little fold, and they go on either side of this central fold with the 2 score lines butting up against each other. Okay, so you end up with 2 little hinges that stick out from the inside piece. Okay, so those guys are folding, the fold lines on the inside, the openings on towards the inside of the card. All right, those bits and pieces are for later, so I'll just pop them aside. Now I have already, there's a little spot from inside one of my dies. These pieces are all exactly the same size, and I've got pieces for these 2 here are for there, but I'll put them aside because I'm going to stamp on them before I stick them inside. Always a good idea to stamp before you stick, just in case you need to flip it over. So 4 for inside, and then 2 more for the front of my card. Okay, and I'm just going with a whole circle theme using this dotted circle embossing folder, which is really great, and using some of the dotty circles from the Everyday Details dies for my 2 feature pieces, and also nesting inside one of the little Stylish Shapes dies. Okay, all right, so I'm going to put, now you don't usually see me put my adhesive onto my destination cardstock, but I have found with embossed cardstock it's best to use a liquid glue or tape, and seeing as how I'm not a huge fan of liquid glue, I love Seal just because it's quicker and drier and cleaner for me, because I have special skills with liquid glue that I don't really like in terms of mess. Okay, so with the embossed pieces, I'm making very sure that I'm not putting my adhesive right to the very edge, because I know there's a little border all the way around, but when I use the Seal on embossed cardstock, it often tears the cardstock because it's already softened by the embossing process. Because I've got a little bit of a heavy hand. That's probably the secret why me and liquid glue don't get on very well. So I'm putting glue onto my destination cardstock. Now I can't actually see who's here with me, so please know that I really appreciate you joining me and joining in the fun. And I will reply to all of your comments after I finish the Facebook Live. Okay, so the next bit is to stick my feature piece in, and I'm going to put my adhesive just on those little hingy bits that we stuck in the middle first. That's why we have to stick them in first. We stick the other paper over the top to hide the mechanics, and then we've got our pop-up bit that pops up when you open the card. So ta-da, ta-da, okay. And then for the front, I've got a smaller one, and this is only going to stick on half of my cardstock, so I'm going to make sure to only put my adhesive just on that left-hand side. Oops. And make sure that's lined up correctly. Line it up with my circles as well. It's great having handy circles to line up. Okay, so there's the mechanics of the card done, the fun mechanics. Now, the bit I want to teach you today, I am using, the best thing to use is Fluid 100 watercolour paper. This paper is textured. It does have a texture to it. It's pure cotton. It is far more forgiving when you're using any sort of extra liquid to colour with. So it gives you a lot more flexibility, gives you a lot more time to colour, and it enables you to add lots more layers on it, and it doesn't get upset. When you add too much liquid to ordinary cardstock, it tends to peel back really fast. So that's why we're using Fluid 100, just because it gives greater success. So I'd recommend using Fluid 100 for any sort of watercolouring that you're doing. And I'm using Stays On, Saddle Brown Stays On ink, because it's solvent based, which means that it's waterproof, so it won't bleed when you colour with it. And I love the Saddle Brown because it is far more subtle than the black, the Stays On black. It's a much softer colour. It's very much a Julia colour. I love this colour. But it just allows the actual colouring that I'm doing to shine more than the actual stamping. Okay, so I'm also masking my image here to create a complete scene. So I have stamped the teapot onto a bit of masking paper. You can use a post-it note as well and cut it out. And as you can see, I've used this a few times before. And now I covered up what I've already stamped. I'm going to stamp the table over the top of that mask. I'm giving the stamp lots of pressure because of the texture of the watercolour cardstock. And then when I peel the mask off, it looks like the teapot's sitting right on the edge of that table. And then to complete the picture, I'm just going to add some flowers in the top of my teapot. Okay, and this one, the way the stamps have been designed, they have the little gap in the top so that I don't really need a mask for that to pop my roses just at the top of my teapot there. There we go. And I didn't ink that up very well, did I? So I'll have to do some good colouring in to camouflage that. But in order for it to go into my card, I am going to have to fussy cut it out. So I have actually stamped one already, and it's fussy cut, all ready to go. And I've stamped this image twice more to ready for the front of the card. So now we've stamped with Stays On. I've used my mask to create my teapot sitting on top of the table. Illusion, I suppose you would say it is. And I'm going to use watercolour pencils. Now we have two assortments of watercolour pencils. I like to open them from the bottom so that I can see the colours of the pencils coming out, because I can't tell from the leads. I'm actually going to use both of the sets. They're both really good. They both have lots of options, but they all coordinate with the Stampin' Up! Colours, which is fabulous. So I might use this one, Pecan Pie, I think, for my table. So, oh, actually, I should do the teapot first to show you because it's the most dramatic result. And I will stick with my orange pot because I do like my orange pot. So the watercolour pencils, you do have to look after quite carefully. They have soft leads, so they can break really, really easily. But you don't actually have to, the technique I'm doing, you don't have to colour it in, and you don't even have to colour all of your things, all of your image. I'm just adding some pencil to my image, using a fair bit of pressure to give it a fair bit of colour on there. And then this time you can do this with the water painters. That works really, really beautifully. But today I'm going to use the blender pens. And these blender pens, I'm actually just going to scrub the, yep, that's all clean. The blender pens are filled with a glycerin compound of some sort, which brings your image to have the same sort of qualities as colouring with a marker. So what I'm doing is adding the liquid from the blender pen and just dragging that colour that I've already coloured with the watercolour pencil across from the outside where I coloured it, where I presumed that there would be shadow on a rounded object, across to the centre. Okay, I'll just show you nice and close what I've done there. Okay, so I've just scribbled the pumpkin pie on the side there. I'm using the blender pen to drag that colour across to the centre. I am using strokes around the object as well. That will also give you the illusion of a rounded image. So not just colouring willy-nilly, but actually colouring with the shape of the object. And then colouring on the handle, dragging that pigment around on the image, and then the spout, drag the pigment up to the top. And you can also, if you like, once it's coloured, add more colour. And because it's slightly moist, the colour will be a lot darker. Okay, so I'm just adding a bit more. That's the beauty of the Fluid 100 paper. You can't do that quite so well with ordinary cardstock. It does get a little bit distressed very easily. Okay, so there's my pot. Now my table, I'm going to add colour where I think there'll be shadows. So at the sides, around, underneath where the pot's sitting, on the edges on the sides, and now on each of the legs, definitely straight under the lip. Okay, and this one straight under the lip. This colour is Pecan Pie. Okay, bit under that lip and that lip, and maybe a little bit at the feet too. Okay, so I'm just going to clean off my blender pen there till it goes clean. And now blend. It is called a blender pen for a good reason. Blend that pigment that I've actually laid down from my pencil. It's not quite ink. You can actually use blender pens with your ink pads too. I've got a little bit of extra Pecan Pie I don't want just there. I thought it was a bit of scrap, but I might have to do something about that. Okay, now, can you see what I did? Yes, you can see. Just pulling my colour down from underneath the lip there. And down, and down, and then going around, because they're round legs. A bit more there. There. Picking up that colour, dragging it around, and the last one. Okay. There we go. How's that look? Do I need to add some more? You know, of course, you can, we're never quite satisfied, are we? We can keep adding all the way along. There we go, added a bit more on each of the sides, just using my little horizontal flicking there, a bit more this side. And then you probably don't want to be sitting here watching me do this all day long. Roses, what have we got here? This one's Cherry Cobbler. For these roses, I'm just going to draw a line on each of the petals. One line. So I'm not colouring in the whole rose, just drawing a line on each of the petals. There's another flower there. There we go. Is that all of the petals? Okay. Clearing my brush again. Yep. And then just blending that out. So because I've drawn a line and left white space and then dragging that ink towards the white space, it does give lovely light and shade. Can you see that on the rose? So it gives you a more realistic image because there's dark and light in the actual colouring rather than just flat colour all over the whole thing. So don't have to colour the whole thing with your pencil or your ink for that matter. Just add little bits to where you think the dark is and then use your tools to drag the colour. Okay, that's enough of my Cherry Cobbler. I'm going to use Old Olive for the leaves this time, and I'm just putting a bit of colour right in the points where the darkest hint would be, because then I'm going to drag the colour up towards the tips. There we go. Okay, so can you see where I've just added colour just to the very centres of those leaves, not all the way along. And then I'm going to use my blending brush and drag that ink, drag that pigment towards the tip of the leaves. And as with anything, less is more. You can always go back and add colour, but it's hard to take it away once it's already there. Oh, there's another leaf I missed. Bit of colour there. The other thing you can do with watercolour pencils as well is you can mix colours. They blend and mix very nicely actually. So I'm adding some garden green to my Old Olive's leaves there. So it's already coloured, but I'm adding an extra tone just to give it another variation. It's always, in nature, the colours are never flat. They have variations of tone. Okay, so there's that. And then last of all, on all of this, no, that's not sharp enough. Oh, this colour is Night of Navy. I'm going to add just a little bit of Night of Navy to all of these, whatever they are, things. Well, it can't be Baby's Breath because Baby Breath's white. But they are little cute things that look nice. I don't know anything about flowers, can you tell? Okay, make sure my brush is clean and just drag that colour out so that it's nice and coloured in. Okay, thank you for sticking with me, those who've stayed in to watch the whole thing. The other thing is you can come back and watch the replay and stop and start it. All right, and I might just add a little bit of pencil to my stalks. I'm holding the pencil quite lightly this time, very little pressure, just to fill it out. So there's my coloured in image. Oh, and I've forgotten to cut out the handle. So here's a trick. I'm going to cut right through the handle and then cut around leaving my little border. And then cut that off. And then when you stick it down, no one will ever know that I've actually chopped the handle in half so that I could get to the inside. I better put the lid on these. These guys do dry out. So they come in a pack of 3, 1, 2, 3 in a pack. Pretty good value actually. But once they dry out, they're done. Okay, but they're double-ended. They're all double-ended. So there's plenty of opportunities. They do stain, the tips do stain, but as you can see, it does run clear. Makes for easy colouring in. Okay, so now let's put our card together. This one here. So there's the teapot, and I'll put him over a little bit, and then I'll make sure I stick down that hand. Oh, look, you can see my mistake on the back. I'm just going to put a little bit of adhesive right over that handle. There we go. And pop you down there. There's my little pot on the inside. I love that teapot. It's very cute. And what else do I need to stamp? I need to stamp a circular bit. So for that one, I'm going to stamp "So lucky to know you." If you would like to receive this card in the mail, just send me a quick message in the comments if you're in Australia, or private message me and let me know your address and I can post it to you. Because this comment, this title is for you. I am so lucky to know you. And I think I will put that on with some dimensionals. 1, 2, 3, and pop you in the center of my circle. And I have 2 lots of roses here. I don't know whether I need both. I'll just pop you there. Do I need to add the other one? Nah. Yep. That's a spare for something else. Oh, I do need bling. Where's my bling? I'm using oh, and I do need to stamp those 2 too, actually. I'm using very subtle, iridescent foil gems. So, one down there. More circles, going with the whole circle theme. One up there. One up there. And one more about halfway, because apparently you have to have odd numbers. And then my 2 panels, these 2 here to write on for my recipient, so that could be you. Just let me know if it'd like to be you, and I'm happy to post it to you. Keeping Australia Post in business, I am. Single-handedly. Okay. I'm going to stamp with Blackberry Bliss on either side and then in the middle. This little tiny stamp doesn't need much inking. I actually did this for a class of ladies last week. We had fun creating this card. I really enjoyed it. Had a fantastic time. I hope they did too. All right, that's that bit done, and I can stick these inside. 1, and that is my card complete. So I can write plenty of things in there to say whatever I want to say. Happy birthday, lovely to know you. Thank you for being my friend. Thank you for ordering. There we go. Mark 1, Mark 2. So lucky to know you. Thank you so much for joining me. And I'll reply to all the comments. Bye now.